Hey y'all, it's Fantasia and this is my channel Sewing with Tay from the T.A.E Emporium. Today we have a fun project which is a baby teddy bear, and I did this because I was asked to teach a youth program a hand knitting project. So let's get into some of the details. Alright, for these baby bear projects we're going to need chunky yarn. They are super cute. You can make them in a variety of sizes. My tutorial is for this size. It's about 14 inches tall. It is very beginner friendly. Again, I taught it to some children. The tools you're going to need for this project is going to be chunky yarn. You only need one skein. So I was able to make this entire bear with one skein of yarn, and I still have some left over, FYI. You're also going to need a pair of scissors, any scissors, but I wouldn't use my fabric scissors for this, and some polyfill to stuff your bear. That's really all you need to do. That's all you need to have to make this teddy bear. Again, it is very user-friendly. I'm going to go through and show you some of the steps so you can see how easy it is. If you want the full tutorial, it is linked below in the description, and you can also find it on my website, theTeaEmporium.com. Please leave me comments in the section if you have questions. If you get to make your bear and you love it so much, or you're giving it to your friends or giving them as gifts, make sure to take a picture so you can tag me on social media, on Instagram, the T.A.E Emporium, and you can also follow me and tag me on TikTok at Sewing with Tay. So let's get into a couple of sections of this bear. Alright, so here are our materials. We're going to need some chunky yarn, number 7. We're going to need some polyfill. You're going to need a solid color yarn for your nose and your eyes. Here goes some clips that I'm using as knit counters and some very basic scissors. Don't use the scissors you use for your fabric. So we're going to start this off the same way we start any of our hand knit projects. That's with a slip knot, and we're going to make our loops to make our foundational chain. Specifically for this teddy bear, you want to make sure your loop size is very consistent. I adjusted my knot a few times to try to get that right length. You don't want it to be no more than 2 finger widths tall, because if your loops are too big, your stuffing will show inside of your bear. So I took some time with adjusting, especially with the fuzziness of this yarn. I wanted to make sure that my stuffing was not going to show. I made the same bear in white and I made it in brown, and I felt like in the brown I had more issues with the fluff consistency staying the same with my loop sizes. So that's definitely something to test out on your project before you get too far gone. I'm going to zoom in and so you can see what the chain here looks like. We have our loop, and you're going to count these rows just like this to make sure you have the right amount of loops. For this project we're using 10, and this end here is our tail, and we're going to put that through our final loop to make our chain. From there we are going to start making standing loops. This is what becomes the body of your bear. I use my little clip counter right there to keep track of what row I am on, because you are knitting in a circle. Sometimes it can get confusing which row you're on. Once you get up to the middle, to the top, row 8, we're going to do a cast off. So you'll see me pulling one yarn. I'm going to zoom in for you. One yarn inside the previous one. You're going to put it inside the previous one. You're going to put that second loop inside the previous one. This one gets a little confusing for people, so I always repeat it a few times. But once we get through there, that was our neck shaping. That's a lot easier than other tutorials I have seen. Once you are finished with your neck shaping with the cast off stitch, we're going to continue to stitch as normal, and then we're going to move on to creating a mouth, a nose, and some eyes. So you want to try to find the center for your nose. This was difficult. I definitely had to do this a few times. I feel like it takes a little bit of work to make sure that your eyes look even, your nose placement is even, and you're going to be using 2 rows of knits to make this nose. So a lot of times I didn't realize it was off until I actually put the 6 loops in. So you'll see me here, I'm on loop 5 and 6. I get them in there, and these stitches are kind of tight because you have to keep them tight, otherwise again your stuffing is going to show. So I started over, Did it again, tried to get it centered to what feels like the face or the head of the bear. And you want to put this yarn in, and then, you know, take a good look at it, make sure you're okay with the placement. You're going to take your tail, tuck it inside, and then you're going to loop it like normal. And it's still very critical to make sure your loops are the same size, consistent size, because you don't want any big straggly loops around your nose piece. So once you get that settled with your loop size and your nose and mouth placement, you're going to do this little drawstring method, and it ends up like this. You're going to take your stuffing. I like to stuff the bottom first. Get it in there nice and smooth, and as you can see, this was one of my better ones that did not have any stuffing showing, and I stuffed it pretty full. So once you get your stuffing in there, we're going to take our tail and start the drawstring method kind of again for the bottom to get it closed up. So you want to make sure you're going inside to out. You'll see me pulling this out a bit because I didn't feel like it was drawstring the way I wanted to. A lot of it is trial and error. I'll give you the most tips that I can, the best tips that I can, but a lot of it comes from just practicing. So inside towards the outside, inside towards the outside. That way it will drawstring nicely. You can pull your drawstring just like that. And you want to do it till you get all the way back to where you started, and then you definitely want to go a little bit past where you started and loop it around some of those extra yarns to keep it secure. And any extra yarn that you have, you want to make sure you tuck it inside. So we have some ears here. The ears are so cute and so easy to make. Look at those, how cute are that? So then from there we moved on to doing our arm. That is a 4-loop project, and it also is done inside the knits of where we knit the body. So you want to make sure you stick those loops in there, make sure they're tight, not too big, not too small. Then you want to knit around in a circle, or in this case knit around in a square, and make sure that your yarn is going the right direction, your loops are going the right direction. Definitely take some practice, but after a while this becomes easy. It was definitely a super fun project. Like, the most difficult part is probably getting started, but that's the same thing with any project that you work on. The hardest part is getting started. Once you know about knit stitches and how to make them, it's very repetitive, very much put a good movie on with some popcorn and knit you a teddy bear. So this is what the arm starts to look like as we go through those rounds of knitting. When you get done, we're also going to do that drawstring method on the arms and the legs. The arms and the legs are pretty much the same knit technique. The nose and the tail is kind of the same technique. So for that project, if you can do an arm, you can do a leg. If you can do the snouts or the mouth, you can definitely do the tail. Outside of that, it's a very, very simple project. And I thought it came out so cute. I did teach it to my first group of summer kids, and they actually love their bears. So again, if you're interested in this project, please check the link in my description so that you can get the tutorial, the personalized video, and please feel free to message me with any comments or questions you may have about the tutorial.